So layoffs have come to JPEG land, OpenSea announcing that 20% of their staff is going to be laid off due to macro uncertainty and just a wider depression among the space. Quote, Devin Finzer, who is the CEO of OpenSea, said, the reality is we have entered an unprecedented combination of crypto winter and broad macroeconomic instability, and we need to prepare the company for the possibility of a prolonged downturn. They went on to say that they want to prepare for the next 5 years, make sure that the company is set up for success. OpenSea, of course, is, if not the largest, one of the largest NFT marketplaces. They have plans of maybe even going into an IPO during the bull market. That hasn't happened to date, but they are basically a household name. They really got some escape velocity during the bull market. So this is a pretty big news to see 20% of their staff lay off. Obviously, it comes after layoffs within mining companies, comes up with layoffs for Coinbase, layoffs for lots of different crypto exchanges like Gemini. So this is just following on the heels of that. But it is the largest one I've heard so far among different NFT platforms. Jen, I want to throw this one down to you, get your take on it.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about this. During the bull, people were hiring a lot, spending a lot of money, and not really preparing for this bear cycle that was inevitable. I think we've seen over the past year or so, OpenSea has really had that first mover advantage. They've been the NFT marketplace, although there have been like so many issues, right? But there hasn't been a competitor that has been able to touch them. I think now that we're seeing this 20% layoff, they're having to scale down. I wonder what departments they're looking to lay off in. I think over this next bear cycle is when we might see a competitor build something that can really give OpenSea a run for their money. And I look forward to that. I look forward to see what people are building during the bear to solve some of the issues that we've seen come up with OpenSea. And I hope that during the next bull cycle, there are some platforms out there that can give OpenSea a run for their money and give NFT holders some more value, some more protection on their platforms. But Adam, I'm going to toss it up to you.
You know, OpenSea is an interesting company. It's a company that's been around for a while at this point, and it's a company that's raised so much money and had such a big impact on the space that it's a part of, that it's really not so much that it's a space that it's a part of. It's more like it is the space, and then there's this sort of tangential 20% of action that happens kind of spread off across the other, 10,000 platforms. I'm not actually sure what the numbers are. So I think that right there is interesting. But what it means is that if you're OpenSea right now, or if I'm OpenSea right now, right, I'm not thinking about how am I going to survive the next 2 years. I'm thinking about how do I maximally position myself during this time so that I can continue to be in this dominant position, right? Really, OpenSea to me is the Facebook of its sort of space, and it will require a substantial tactical error on the part of the incumbent in order to actually dislodge them from that seat. And until they actually make a tangible mistake that's like a significant one that impacts hundreds of millions of dollars, worth of funding, like they're doing fine. So this move I see really as positional and almost entirely about taking advantage of the fact that when you hire a lot of people fast in order to stock up, a lot of times you don't need all of those people, and you find that out. So this actually might just be a pretense for them to sort of reduce headcount and focus on kind of the people who have proven most valuable to the organization. So that's how I kind of look at it. I'm kind of curious for your perspective on it, though, Sundali. How are you thinking about OpenSea these days?
Adam, that was pretty much exactly what I was gonna say, that they might be using this as an excuse to sort of reorganize, take a step back, and build a strategy for how they're gonna position for the next 5 to 10 years and even more. Because I mean, let's be honest, NFTs were kind of, the hype around it was dying down a little bit even before this big crash, and of course the crash hasn't helped, but NFTs in particular have a chance to make it all through this, just because they can sort of form their own markets. They have these utilities and applications we have only just begun to explore with the metaverse and everything that's coming up. So I think that, yeah, again, this is a very strategic move, and it's a perfect time for them to do this. So I'm looking forward to how they try not to mess up going forward, if I can say it like that.
Isn't it so sad that we're saying like, oh, maybe they're using this opportunity to finally think ahead, as if no one was thinking ahead, just like running around with their heads chopped off during the bull market. I would like to point out, though, that the mainstream is still not here. So there is still a big chance for another player to build something that is more intuitive for non-crypto native audiences and kind of come out of nowhere and gobble up that audience, because the audience on OpenSea, while it is the biggest one for an NFT platform, it's not that big in relation to how many people are online. And so I think when people get more into Web3 and more into NFTs, it'll be interesting to see who if OpenSea remains on top or who takes over. But Adam, I saw your hand go up.
I just have to emphasize again, at least from where I'm sitting, like I think it will be hard, because you get this phenomenon in crypto projects where you have basically the first kind of platform that breaks through on a particular idea. They tend to remain the incumbent, and that's because something like OpenSea was built at a time when it was not at all obvious that there was a lot of money available in NFTs and that was a sector that was really going to take off. And OpenSea does primarily still have that early adopter market, but that early adopter market is also the market that spends the vast majority of the money on NFTs in sort of the current environment. Now, you're correct. There are lots and lots of very well-funded competitors who are coming out with things that are significantly easier to use than OpenSea and that abstract a lot of the stuff away. But just like Bitcoin has many sort of also-rans and Ethereum has many sort of also-rans, you run into this problem where, well, people are using my solution, so you run into this problem where you have the choice to either use the incumbent platform or to use one of the many challengers. And all of the challengers have different advantages that they do better than the incumbent, but you wind up still with this split marketplace where half the people are going to the incumbent and then the other half are split between all of the other very well-funded platforms that are out there, which means most of them probably won't survive. So this may be different. Obviously, we're talking about a platform here rather than a protocol. But, outside of places like exchanges, we've seen this status be remarkably sticky, in my opinion.
Last thought on it for me is, I'll finish up really quick. I'm just curious to see what the crypto bear market combined with macro downturn does to NFT space itself. So obviously OpenSea is pretty dominant, but when the pie just shrinks so dramatically, could get pretty bad. And the last corollary we have to this is 2017, 2018, when ICOs just plummeted, they died off, and they went down 99% and then down another 99%. And does that happen to the JPEG market? And what does that mean for OpenSea? Even the CEO cited that, right? They said that it's going to be a bear market, and then there's also a macro downturn. So it's new level of difficulty compared to 2017, 2018. 2017, 2018 was already rough enough. So I'm interested to see what this does to that market and then how OpenSea responds.